Hello, and welcome to the Oklahoma Venture Forum podcast. I'm your host, Lindsey Miller, founder of My Marketing Assistant. And today I am joined by the founder of ARPath, Sheila Harding, who is going to be at our Oklahoma Venture Forum luncheon in November. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Sheila.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So let's just start at the top. Tell me about ARPath.
Okay, so ARPath is really the first of its kind. It's augmented reality movies, scenes, simulations along a pathway that drive foot traffic into real world locations and should have a huge impact on tourism.
Okay, and so is this a brand new business? Did you found it 2025, or how long have you been working on it?
Oh, geez. Well, I founded Harding Digital 3 years ago, and it's evolved to where now we have this invention, and so we're reforming under the name Terra, but ARPath is our flagship offering, and it's taken some time to get here, but we've been really working hard on it for about a year, a little longer than a year now.
Okay, that's fantastic. So tell me the premise. So we're augmented reality, bringing people into real places. So like restaurants or museums or yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, could be anywhere, right? Wherever they want you to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, museums, restaurants, those are great. So essentially, the path could be as small as a garden or as large as Route 66, and it's strategic foot traffic, so that you will go along the places that it's programming you to go to and end up at the destinations that you should. This might be in a garden or a mural alley or any place really. Yeah.
Okay, and so what happens as I'm going down this path? Like, am I on a cell phone or an iPad? Yeah,
Mhm.
tell me how I'm going down your path.
So right now it's accessible through mobile devices.
Okay.
And so yeah, you would essentially go on location and scan a QR code, and then the app would launch, and you'd be able to see in 360-degree view these 3D overlays of augmented reality, which is essentially like a movie that you would interact with, like avatars, props, scenic environment, and then as you go along the pathway, it's like being in a video game. You're interacting with it, and it's guiding you along the path. With us finally really getting to the place where lightweight cordless augmented reality eyewear is being, the technology, that hardware is really getting to a place where it can be commercially released in the coming years. This will move into that, and it'll be accessible through AR glasses in the future.
So neat. Well, so I can't help but think of myself in my own use of this, but like I'm one of those people that I go to a museum and I want like the headphones because I'm gonna stop and learn about all the things. My husband is just going to be like, get the brochure and he's gonna walk through and then he's gonna want me to tell him like the interesting things that I learned like afterwards, like a meetup at the end. So I could definitely see myself like using something like this and experiencing something that I love in like a whole new way.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I'm the same way. My kids kind of hate me a little bit because I get the brochure too. And I'm trying to explain to them how significant this rocket is. Like, you need to know, right? But they don't care, right? Because I'm reading it off of a pamphlet. But to give that a very visual experience, and it goes beyond museums, and it ties places to the deeper stories that make them significant, especially with communities too.
Tell me about that. Like, what is your vision for communities being able to use this?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, just think of like the Native American communities here in Oklahoma, for example. They have very beautiful stories to tell about, the land beneath our feet, and like what an amazing outlet for them to tell those stories. Just in the production process, because the way we make it is similar to making a film. You're going through pre-production, which involves working with researchers to curate the narrative, the research, and then bringing in either witnesses who were there for that story if it's a historical story, and so that in itself brings the community together, and that's been really beautiful to watch. And then the story is compelling for the community, and it lives in the community, in the place that the community congregates at. It's really there's so many ways that it has a profound effect on community and their ability to tell stories.
Yeah, so the storytelling aspect, are you all doing that as part of ARPath, or are you providing the technology, or are you also doing this like development for people of telling that story?
Both, yeah. So my background is in film, so and I brought a lot of my film network into what we're doing. So the storytelling, yeah, absolutely. There's a whole process there, and then the technology that we're patenting is it will then also be just as significant. Mhm.
Yeah. So tell me about your background in film and entertainment industry.
Oh yeah. Okay. So this is funny. My start as the baby on the Roseanne show.
Oh,
My
how fun.
yeah, and then I was the 1992 Michelin Tire baby. I did a lot of other movies and commercials and shows and stuff growing up, but I was a dancer. I think of myself as a dancer. Uh, growing up in theater, music theater, I became a choreographer doing tours. But I taught myself web development probably around the age of 12, and was, I guess, the dance community really leaned on me in COVID to find a way for the dance community to congregate online. And there was so many limitations there that the really only way to solve those problems were through motion capture and the emerging technology behind, virtual reality and augmented reality, and that had limitations. So decided I wanted to go back to school for that. And that is a sort of how I got here. Yeah.
What an awesome background to bring together, like entertainment and dance and digital marketing. And I bet that does make you a really good storyteller.
Oh, I have a lot of stories. Yeah. I'll
Well,
tell
like,
everybody else's first, though.
right, absolutely. But yeah, but pulling all of these things together for someone that, like, with your creative background and applying it in these really interesting ways through digital marketing and through or RPath, excuse me, through RPath, I think is, yeah, a really rich background to like bring to the table.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so tell me about like where are you guys going this year? So what are your plans for, where are you in December, I should say?
Oh man. In December, do you mean December of 2025?
Yeah, well, I'll ask you 5 years in a little bit, but
Okay,
I
okay.
want to know your immediate goals first.
There are some things I can't say, but we're in the works with some really cool projects that will come out before then. And so, um, you know, I will say that the project was funded in part by the Preserve Route 66 Grant Fund from the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And they're excited to see how our technology can tell the broader story of Route 66 from Chicago to LA. But that doesn't happen overnight, though, right? So we're really identifying some amazing places along Route 66 to tell more stories, although we've already started. And the Route 66 Centennial will be happening in 2026. So if we can make a big splash by then, that will be fantastic. But there are even more people beyond Route 66 who want to utilize the technology. So we're in conversations with people in Las Vegas, for example, and other places. I have a background working in the cruise industry, and so I've found a lot of places who I think maybe by December there will be other places that we've identified to start building projects, um, and even other use cases that we have found in the entertainment industry, film specifically, that's pretty exciting. But we're seeking venture capital investment. So we're talking to loads of investors right now, and hopefully we'll be closing our round before December and runwaying that investment, doing some really cool things for the future.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of investors that listen to this podcast. So, what is it that you want anyone who's listening to know about this round that you're in the middle of right now or getting ready to start?
Well, our path is just the beginning. So, what, and I will say my intellectual property attorney who is like on the Microsoft campus, built he did IP work for Microsoft for a long time. He explained it to me like this, and it makes sense. Like because this is possible, other things are possible, and we're now really seeing that all these other things that are possible, and exploring with them, and seeking like R&D grants to develop those things further. But our path is just the beginning, and so we'll actually index these augmented reality pathways into um, our searchable database and essentially become what is like a searchable platform, which is going to have a big disruption on tourism. So, that is really the future behind this. It doesn't just stop with the production of one pathway. That all belongs to a system, a searchable system.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I love that. I mean, and I think investors are really interested to hear a founder talking about that, of just being like, we're only touching the beginning of the possibilities of what this technology that you've built will be capable of.
It's so exciting. I mean, I feel like I'm drinking out of a fire hydrant, but there's a lot behind, the behind the technology, and there's, but we're really focused and understanding like what needs to come first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and now that we're talking about focus, we get to talk about like the big dreams too. I said I was going to ask you like, the big, hairy, audacious goals. So, what does 5 years down the road look like for you?
I mean, artificial intelligence is going to have a profound impact on this technology, and it will be really exciting to see the things that can happen in real time with it. And I think that we'll be in a really good place with that in 5 years. I think that in 5 years from now, there will be more accessible, lightweight, cordless augmented reality eyewear, and that will be maybe the technology will be more implemented into that. I think what's also really exciting is the smart city use case, which, people are not, they don't totally have their heads wrapped around it, but we do. And, and it's coming. And I think right at that mark, when that eyewear comes out, then and now the civic sector has been motivated by the things that they care about, like history preservation, economic development, tourism. Now it is quite simple to take this technology and use it to create like three-dimensional interface overlays for, like giving you instructions on how to cross a road, or, like there are things that I think you could implement just in like the civic side that is uh going to be really cool,
Yeah,
and using AI in that. We'll see.
I haven't heard of the smart city thing before. What is this?
Oh, wow. Okay, so there are a lot of places all around, uh, the country and the world who are, heavily investing in the future of technology to, create smart cities. So, like, what a more, physical representation of this would be is like, the use of drones to deliver mail, right? And then, how do those things navigate with spatial computing? And then if you really need to get accurate and have control over that, then you use sensors, and then you're talking about the array of things, and where does that live, and what can you build out of that. Like there's a whole industry that is emerging there, and I think that we bring to the table a very visual side of that, that can do more than just here's a road sign. um,
Yeah, and I like the visual component too. So, I mean, you're marketing as well, and we know that, for a long time, the average reading level of a U.S. citizen was fifth grade, and it just recently was downgraded to third grade average level, and I think even in Oklahoma, it's second grade. And so, bringing in visual components into something that like is directional, not just entertainment or educational. I could see people really needing that, not even just with disabilities too, but just with like an average reading level of somebody who needs help navigating something. And those visual components really helping them do it or complete something that they couldn't have done otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a very visual person. I tend to learn better when I'm immersing myself in something. And I mean, there's a reason they call this immersive technology because that's what it really gives you the perspective to do. And it's a great way, I think, to learn that isn't just by the book and simply that.
Yeah, we've talked about already, like in this short conversation, like so many things that your tech is capable of. Like, what's the one that just like is the fire under your feet that just like keeps you going, that you're just so excited that you get to work on?
Um, hmm. I have to think about that for a second because I'm really
Yeah.
excited about all of it.
I understand. It's really neat.
You know what's really cool is the avatars. Okay, I'm excited by everything we talked about, but we maybe haven't touched
Yeah.
on. It's going to be really cool. The avatars were the characters, right? So using AI, we can download AI. We can download character history. Um, so that, for example, you have maybe like a historical figure who knows who they are, and then you could speak with it just like you could talk to an AI bot, right? And it would have the perspective of that bot. But then we can really take that a step further. And there is like navigation, like spatial understanding that the bot can have to know where to navigate. It's like simple use case that we're experimenting with now is like, okay, so when you're walking up on the location, you're doing this experience, like the bot's not like standing on a fire hydrant talking to you because that would be awkward. It like knows there's a fire hydrant there and it goes to the left, right? But then like where do you take that? Where do you take that technology and like how do you remove the limitations behind what a bot like that can do? I think it's so profound actually because we're getting into the, day and age of AI and how that goes into like humanoid robots. But I mean, listen, the software is always there before the hardware, right? It's just that it's like you got to get the hardware to hold the software, and that has to work together. So these humanoid robots, they're really exciting. They're absolutely going to be, you know, um, game changing in the future. But like if you can front load a lot of that software into an augmented reality bot for now, right? Then you have that companion. It can essentially do anything a ghost could do, right? Like even having electronic capabilities. That's like really exciting. So
Yeah. Like, it's really hard for, an older lady like myself to, like, fully wrap my brain around that, like, honestly. Like, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm with you," and then I'm like,
God.
I'm trying, Sheila."
Well, I mean, just living in it, like it's interesting to talk to people who are just learning about the technology, like even engineers, that we speak with, and just like like seeing the dots connect and like and just I remember feeling that way also as I started to connect the dots myself. But now, I mean, we're living and breathing in it. Like been working like 100-hour work weeks for like a year and a half straight on this almost. So it's like it's all I think about, and like what's also a lot of us think about. We've got some amazing people on our team, like
Oh,
uh
yeah, tell me about them.
okay, yeah, where do I begin? Okay, so uh Bill Vivino, who won the Robert Goddard Award from NASA for his contributions to XR, he's our back-end engineer. That's pretty significant. um and we've got CM Sum, who was the chief product officer at Solus Vision, who used AI to automatically create like 3D elements inside of Unity. But he's now joined our team, and he's got experience building video games with the Patent and Trademark Office. Let's see. So Dr. Lee, he's a professor at OU. He has experience using spatial computing in applications that he's built to identify like uh, things in caves under the ocean. And he has way cooler stories than me. uh, I would say one significant thing also is, well, I mean, just the people from, the city of Oklahoma City, or even like, we met with Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell, who was a big fan of our technology, and those people who support us, or like Michael Platt from Cooley's senior partner in charge at Cooley. And it's crazy. I was like reading a book that was like talking about him, and then I was like, wait a second, this is my attorney. Like, so, and he's just helped us like so much. So I could go on. There's a lot of really amazing people who are behind what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it matters a lot, right? Like as a founder, like with an idea and then knowing that like other people are like all in and buying in and like on the team, like towards that goal, must feel really good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it feels like one of those things that just is supposed to happen, like you hit a wall with something for a long time, you make a tweak, and then it's like, let's go. And
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those things you just, it's really meant to happen when it takes off like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I find that the network of like Oklahoma Venture Forum is really awesome and helpful and like love to support people, especially like doing really awesome stuff like you. So like for anyone who's listening now, like what's the ask you have, I guess, for the general community?
Okay. Hey, like when you see it come out, go experience it. Yeah, that would be the big one. But also like, I think where we're going to find product market fit is in the hotels, resorts, casinos, and places like that. So we are seeking introductions uh, to resorts and hotels and casinos. So that would be one way that could help. We have an event coming up at the Gradient on March 4th, which this might come out after that, but I'm inviting people there to, you know, to tell them more about the Route 66 stuff, and we're looking
Hmm.
for more opportunities to share with people what we're doing. So like this podcast is great. Thanks so much for having me on it. More opportunities like this will be great too.
So tell me about this like casino and resort like path. What does that look like whenever you are introduced to somebody at like let's say a river sport or an Okana or Hard Rock
Yeah.
there in Tulsa, right?
It's a little different for everyone, and it depends on the type of story that they want to tell, or the type of experience that they want to have. But it really starts by first dialing that in. If there's an interest there, then of course, working with boards and things like that, you need to, and like make sure that this is something they want to do and they understand what it is and answer those questions, right? But once you've kind of solidified, like, yes, this is what we do and this is the scope in which we want to do it, then there's a really fun, like artistic, collaborative conversation that gets to happen behind there. And sometimes that's relevant for history preservation, and that means finding the researchers, and those researchers are so smart and they've got archives of stuff that they've just been waiting to share these things, and pulling all of that together. We have processes dialed in now for how that works, and it's very collaborative and fun. Probably my favorite part.
Yeah, I would be all on that too. My undergraduate degree is in history. And so like anytime that you've been talking about like history stuff, I'm just like, oh yeah, I would use your product for all of those things. Like, because I
Yeah.
love it. I still do it in my free time. It's like history books and things. Real fun to be around.
You know what? I went to high school in Fairfax, Oklahoma,
Yeah.
which is where Killers of the Flower Moon was filmed at. And there are so many people who didn't know that story, so they didn't read the book. But it was like, okay, then it came out as a movie and we all watched it and we were like, I mean, listen, I graduated with like 30 people, maybe less than that. Might have been less than that.
Mm.
And it's a small town. And now, they have tour buses that shuttle people through there. So it's like seeing the impact that
Yeah.
telling the deeper stories tied to place can actually have on the economic development of that place. It's like really profound. And that's where my heart is at. Like I
Mhm.
really feel strongly about, enhancing tourism and economic development in places that deserve it.
Absolutely. I mean, so I'm from Oolaga, so hello, small town girls in Oklahoma, which is the birthplace of Will Rogers. And so you can imagine like
Okay,
going
yeah.
to his house and like putting on a pair of glasses, and all of a sudden you have Will Rogers doing rope tricks in front of you, right?
Mhm,
Like
mhm,
that's
that's
so
amazing.
cool.
Yes. Oh, okay.
See?
I get excited. But
Maybe I do understand it. Okay, keep
you
going.
do, yeah. And also like, this is similar to the price of like a small budget film, but what you're explaining is like a smaller use case, right? Like one scene with a historical figure and they do something and that uh I got my kiddo over here.
It's
Uh
okay.
and that is still very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah. And it would like I think it's super cool, right? I would absolutely do the tour of, Fairfax and Oolaga and all those things, but like how do we get our kids? You obviously have a kiddo there. I have kiddos too. And like how do you get them to be ignited about the same things that we are? And like for us, maybe it can be reading a book. But for them, growing up in like all of this digital stuff, I could absolutely see ARPath like creating a more vivid experience for them that speaks their digital language that gets them excited about maybe things that wouldn't otherwise be exciting to them.
Yeah, 100%. And it also, I think a lot about, like inverting the whole idea we already have behind like, social networks, right? So currently we log on to this virtual world and we're connected to people. What if we reverse engineer that, right? Like we go into physical places and now we are connected and immersed in, a virtual world that makes it that much more, significant or profound or meaningful or connected to things that we otherwise couldn't connect to because they're of the past, or
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my, see, I could do this all day. I could like, and hearing like how excited that you're getting about these various things, like, is really energizing,
thanks. Yeah, I could do it all day too. Which I
right?
do. I do it all day.
You probably do, exactly. Well, okay. So, as a founder in Oklahoma with this like varied background and other people who are either listening to this podcast today or going to come to the luncheon in November, like what is the advice that you would like to give them now that you're this far down your own path?
Oh man, just to like a general, just general audience, or
Yeah, yeah.
you know, there's a lot of people who they might have like a vision in mind of something that they want to create, but like it's different, right? There might be people who are like, if I come out the gate like that, people won't quite understand. It's never been done before, so they stop themselves. But like truly, truly, like the only thing that's ever really made a difference, especially in innovation, is like when one person is just really gung ho about creating that vision. Like when I talk to investors and things like that, sometimes there's some mentors and investors that I've met or have that uh, they could probably care less about what it is that I'm creating, but they care most about the fact that I'm so passionate about creating it and I'm definitely not going to give up, right? Like, and you got to have that mentality. Like I'm going to do this, right? Like even if it's me deving it out by myself, like going to the places myself and funding it myself, like I will build this thing, and like you have to have that type of drive and belief in yourself, right? And if it's lacking, then like maybe it's not the right thing you're supposed to be doing because you got to find that thing that like if you're doing what you love, it feeds you energy. If you got the energy to do it, like don't give up.
Oh, that's great advice. Because it's hard some days, isn't it? Especially when you're in your shoes and doing something that's never been done before. There are probably some really hard days.
Oh yeah, there can be hard days, but I a wolf is my spirit animal and I just like get through it.
I love that. Well, Sheila, thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed this conversation. I had to keep watching the time because I'm like, I could easily make this an hour-long conversation. So thank you for giving me this time today. And for anyone who's interested in learning more about ARPath, you can go to ARPath, ARPath.tech. And Sheila will be our speaker on November 12th. And you can come to our luncheon and learn more about her and go to the website or any of the speaking engagements that she has coming up, because I have a feeling 2025 is going to be a very busy year for Sheila. Thank you again for joining me. And yeah, we'll see you all soon.